As far as I'm concerned, there's only one person to blame for last night's defeat, Kevin Thelwell. Recruitment has made this team a lot worse than a bad Rangers team last year. It makes zero sense. Join me on the other side. Good morning, guys. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is your Rangers news update for the 7th of November. Right, let's get things into perspective. I think, last night's defeat to Roma was depressing in one way. I'm not going to sit here this morning and tell you that I expected us to beat Roma. AS Roma are a very, very good side that have spent an awful lot of money on some very, very good footballers. They have some very fine players in that squad, and you've only got to look at the strength of their bench to show that they're a very quality side. Bringing on the likes of Wrench, for instance, Dutch international. They've got Kone, French international. I mean, let's face it, if you're getting in the French national team, you've got to be a player. So this is no bunch of mugs that we were playing last night. This is no second-rate. Finnish, Norwegian or Latvian team. This was one of the top teams in Europe in the Europa League this season. But look, I think you've got to let's get things into perspective. This is not on the players last night. The players, yes, did not play well, but they can't play any better than that. That is their level. How they played last night, they are simply not good enough. And we'll talk about that in a moment. It is not on the manager. The manager has just literally walked in through the door. He has had little time to work with the players. There have been a minimum number of training sessions between games. As I tried to put across on a video the other day, it's a case of play. You then use a recovery session. You may have one training session, and then you're into game prep. In terms of actually a light session into game prep, or even not even having that. You can't get across your philosophy, the way you want to play, the style you want to play in, and change things massively in that short period of time. It just genuinely isn't possible. Carlo Ancelotti, Jurgen Klopp, Mikel Arteta, Arne Slot could come in, and I don't think they can make changes in that short an amount of time. And we're talking there about some of the best coaches in world football. But, for me, you looked at that team last night, and with the exception, I think, of Connor Barron and Jack Butland, again, that team are way, way below expectations. The back defenders last night, none of them should be starting for Rangers at any level. None of them are good enough. Suter looks shot. He looks unfit. Nasajiga is, quite frankly, one of the worst defenders I've ever seen play the game of football. Max Aarons, I genuinely don't get Max Aarons. He looks lost. Jayden Magoma is a kid. That's what he is. He's a kid who should be someone's backup, learning the game, not starting in a big European night at Ibrox. And I'm sorry, Tav fanboys, but your boy, his legs have gone. His legs have gone. He was woeful last night. 1 out of 10 at best. He was dreadful. He just cannot play at this level anymore. And if he signs a new contract at the end of this season, an extension, he's a fraud, stealing money from the club. But none of that back five should play for Rangers. They're not good enough. But the problem is, that's all we've got. That is what we've got. Yes, I know we've got the missing man, Fernandez. How Cornelius doesn't start, I don't know. I'd start him ahead of Giga. I'd start him ahead of Suter. I'd start him ahead of Magoma. I'd start him ahead of any of those people. He's not great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's the next coming of Lorenzo Amoruso or the next coming of Terry Butcher, but he is still better than what we've actually got on the park. But this debacle falls at the feet of Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell. Last year's team was not good enough. Let's get this right. Look, we're not going to sit here and reinvent the wheel and rewrite history. Last year's team was not good enough. It didn't win anything. It got a manager sacked. It didn't perform well. But let's get something into perspective. We had 3 forward players last season who scored 60 goals between them. We've replaced them with what? Chimiti, who, I'll be honest with you, looks worse than a fat lad down the park trying to play football. In fact, I think I've walked my dog through parks in Coventry, seen fat lads playing football in the Sunday League, and they've looked better and more effective than Yusuf Chimiti. Yusuf Chimiti is the worst footballer I have ever seen play this game in over 40 years of watching this game. He is dreadful. And last night, again, he misses another 2-3 easy chances that a player that is... And people can talk about, forwards miss chances. That's a player you've paid 10 million, well, rising to 10 million pounds for. He should be taking at least one, if not two, of those chances. And look, you know my feelings on Cyril Dessers. Cyril Dessers scores at least one of those chances that Chimiti misses last night. Guarantee it. And Dessers would get dog's abuse for missing the chances, and I'm sure Chimiti will hopefully get dog's abuse. And I was stunned, as I said to you the other day. As bad as he was against Celtic, and he was dreadful against Celtic, you knew he'd start last night against Roma. You knew he would. And I'm sorry, those people here saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Kevin Thelwell either picks or has a huge influence over who is in that team. Because there is literally no way that anybody who knows anything about football, a sensible coach or manager, would pick Chimiti to start. The guy is shite. He'll start on Sunday. We know he will. Even though he's probably one of the worst footballers I have ever seen in my entire life. And there's stories going around today that he could be loaned out to Braga in January. I mean, what a joke. Pay £8.5 million for a footballer who should be starting if you're paying that much money. And because he's so bad, you've got to loan him to the Portuguese league to try and get him better. It could only happen to us. Miovski looked lost. Danilo was probably the better of the three. He, created a couple of chances, a couple of nice runs and a couple of nice balls, and he worked hard. But still not up to the standard we need. And the midfield was functional. Raskin went missing again. I'll be honest with you, I think Nico Raskin, who I think is a very good footballer, has kind of down tools a bit. He's kind of given up. He's kind of gone to what the hell should I bother for? I'm surrounded by this. Nothing I can do makes any difference. It's on Thelwell. He has gone out and he has recruited players who have made this team worse. Now, if you go back to last season, Philippe Clement and Niels Koppen got slaughtered, quite rightly at times, for the performances and for some of the jobs they did. But they were working on a shoestring budget. They were working with nothing, with buttons, and they did it, on reflection, reasonably well with buttons. And I'll tell you something, if we fielded last year's team against this year's team, last year's team would win. Because the recruitment that Thelwell has done has made this team worse. It's made it worse. Asgard is just shocking. He's too slow. He's not up to the level. Ali McCoist said last night on the commentary that the recruitment has been diabolical. And he's right. It has been diabolical. Now, the fans made it quite clear to Andrew Kavanagh, who was in attendance last night, exactly what they think of Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, telling Thelwell to get to you-know-where. And he does. And what scares the living daylights out of me is the fact that, yes, Rangers do need to strengthen it in January, but what scares the living daylights out of me is the thought that he could be given another 20 to 30 million pounds, him and his moron son could be given another 20 to 30 million pounds to waste on more rubbish. There's a fantastic article someone wrote. I can't remember who it is, the name of the guy who wrote it, and I'd love to be able to give him credit, but talking about the job that Kevin Thelwell's son did at Norwich. Norwich have gone backwards every season whilst that man was involved with the football club. They currently sit second off bottom in the English Championship. This was a team that used to compete for the playoffs every single season and had a history of getting into the Premier League. This year, they look more like going down to League One on the back of recruitment made by, yes, Kevin Thelwell's son, a man that we said is the best candidate for the job. I'm sorry, guys. Under this sporting director, I don't care who you put in the dugout. Danny Rule, Jurgen Klopp, Carlo Ancelotti, Mikel Arteta, Arne Slot, Pep Guardiola. You could put anybody in the dugout and they won't have success, whilst this man continues to waste millions and millions of pounds on just genuine shit. In fact, if Andrew Kavanagh was to give £20 million to spend in January, he's better off giving me that money. I'll set fire to it in my back garden because it's probably better than letting him waste 20 to 30 million pounds on the kind of crap that we know he's going to bring in from the English Championship, English League One, and on Premier League loans. Players who can't cope with playing in the Scottish game. They don't get the intensity, they don't get the level. They're just simply not good enough. And it is concerning, deeply, deeply concerning. Kevin Thelwell must go, and as fans, we must do everything we can to chase this scumbag out of our football club. He has to go. Lies, let me know your thoughts.